Hey everybody! So Eric July's Isom #1 campaign, I think as of today is at what, just shy of 3.5 million, and of course people have been very, very, very unhappy about that. And by people, I mean like losers on Twitter. Essentially that's it. Maybe it's because they get their information from the shitbags over at CBR, who are currently attacking the campaign and the customers of the campaign. Because of course, if you buy from an independent black comic book creator, you must be brainwashed. And I hate to, bring identity into things, but they do it all the fucking time. So, like, at this point, they must be doing it because of their unbridled racism. It must be because deep down, they actually wear Klan hoods inside. And when they saw a black man make over $3 million, the internalized white supremacy within just arose. Okay, but in all seriousness, let's actually talk about this article here. Multiple CBR writers attack Eric July's Isom #1 campaign. One calls customer brainwashed. Yeah, fuck off, man. Two writers from the alleged comic news website. All right. John Della Rosa wrote this. Good on you, man. That was a good shot. Two writers from the alleged comic news website CBR attacked Eric July's Isom #1 campaign this weekend. Both writers from the CBR site took exception to the pricing of July's graphic novel at $35, making statements that allude to him ripping off his customers. CBR's David Hurth tweeted to one of July's fans, "You can go get Saga Volume 1, over 100 pages of excellent comic for $10. I mean, obviously, the thing there is that they're talking about reprints and everything, but also they're talking about books, well, I mean, that have been in publication for quite some time. But also they come from major companies that have been making comics for a very long time. So their prices are obviously going to be lower than someone who is just starting up and is doing this all independently and doesn't have any deals the way DC, Marvel, or what's the other one, Image, or whatever the fuck. I don't really care anymore at this point. I'm really happy for Eric July. I mean, good on him. I think the price is fair, right? Like I've spent like $30+ on books that really weren't worth it. But at the same time, I was buying those books from like Marvel and DC and shit. If I had the ability to spend $35 so I can support an independent comic book creator whose stated goal is to become a competitor to Marvel and DC, well, I mean, that seems like a good use of my money. But I think I'm going to get a good comic book from the guy because, I mean, like, it looks actually really good. I actually really like the artwork in it. But let's talk about this shit, right? So this is a tweet from Eric's wife, right? Remember, friends, just because something is out of your budget does not make it overpriced. #Ripaverse. I'm not entirely sure what to say here. Just because 40,100 spent $50 or more on 96 pages, blah, 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 blah. I mean, she didn't insult anybody. She didn't call them poor. In fact, like, it was a pretty wholesome tweet. And then you have over here, this doesn't just apply to the comic world, it applies to everything. Yeah, it should apply to everything. But that's the problem. These assholes over here, they don't live by that they don't live by that message. They live by, I want it, I get it, I deserve it. Even when they clearly fucking don't, right? So when you put out a book and you say, this is the price, this is why it's the price, they sit there and they go, Marvel and DC can make something for $5 less and look, it's got, fuck off, man. I mean, like, sitting there and saying that you can go and get the old Marvel and DC books, bro, most people already fucking own them. What, they're gonna get another one? Here's the problem. Marvel and DC aren't printing anything people want to fucking read anymore. So all we have are the old fucking books we already own. God damn, what jackasses. What just complete amoral douchebaggery. But of course, it's CBR, so, like, I mean, that's literally all they fucking are. But anyways, I mean, they bring up this policy, which just seems like really screwed up. We don't cover Comicsgate either, mostly because both you and them are all anti all of the things we write about, he tweets. The site used to be called Comic Book Resources before it rebranded CBR, and one might expect that they would be writing about comic books and comic news, of which Isom #1 should qualify as books have sold more than 50,000 copies from 40,000 customers as of this writing. I mean, more to the point than that, and I think it gets mentioned here in the article too, that Marvel and DC just never reached their fucking goals, except on, like, you know, key books like a Batman title or a Spider-Man title. Otherwise, they've been failing over and over and over again. But this idea that, you know, Comicsgate and Eric July, oh, they're anti everything. See, that's so fucking dishonest. They are not anti everything they write about. They have a different opinion on what they write about. They're still interested in fandoms. They're still interested in comic books. They just disagree on the direction shit's been going in, and now they're presenting an alternative. And you, being the fucking comic book website, should have the balls to sit there and say, hey, this is a competitor who's been trashing the books we've been praising. Let's see how his comic does. Or let's talk about why we don't think it will be good. But again, that requires balls, and they don't fucking have them. Oh, man. I know I shouldn't be ranting like this, right? Because they're so fucking sensitive. They're so precious. But then you see shit like this, right? That decision is made way above my pay grade. But possibly because he's one of many who only exist to be against the things we write about. That would be like asking why Bernie Sanders doesn't have a column in the right-wing publication. No, dipshit. No, you dumbass. You have a different fucking opinion on a comic book. You're still talking about a fucking comic book! Oh my god, like, that's the dumbest thing ever, right? Could you imagine, like, there are people like the Civil War comic book, and there are people that fucking hate the Civil War comic book. Could you imagine if you said anyone, well, I mean, the people that fucking hate that comic and would probably agree to this anyway, so that's probably that example. But, like, be honest with me, right? Yes, it would be absurd for Bernie Sanders to work at a right-wing publication. It would be weird for Eric July to go work for CBR. That's not what's happening here. He's got a comic book. You're the fucking comic book website, and you're being absolute. Oh man, I can't. I just can't. I mean, you see how just like completely dishonest these people are. They never stop. They never consider like how it's gonna fucking look because it's never going to impact them in a negative way.